Hey everyone, welcome to Reading the Green and our golf DFS show. My name is Mike. I'm joined with Kyle and Jordan on Tuesday, May 31st. Great show tonight. Lots of good stuff to get to. We'll do the Colonial recap, preview the Memorial, and hit on a few other things in the golf world. Finally have some breaking news on Tuesday. First of all, I know the story's a little bit old, but we have somebody that's close on site to the Iowa State girls 3A golf tournament. Kyle, what were your thoughts on the 18th hole?
You know, I can appreciate what those gals are going through when it comes to missing a putt by 40 feet.
So for people that didn't see this, right, super viral over the weekend, it was an insane pin placement that generated an average score of quadruple bogey on the 18th hole of the Class 3A Girls State Golf Tournament in Iowa. And I don't know, some people might be losing their jobs this week.
Well, yeah. So I worked at a course growing up, did pin placements for tournaments, something like that. I would have, if I did that before at just a normal high school meet, I would have for sure been done that day. Like that just is jerkish. And then secondly, my question is, I want to know what the highest score was, and if there's any sort of cap at the Iowa High School State Girls Tournament. Because yeah, I mean, you couldn't stop that within 10 feet. It looked like.
Well, see, I wonder, like, I want to see everyone's score, because if everyone got a triple or a quintuple, like in between a triple and quintuple, then it's just like a par to a double bogey, right? Yeah. But if there's a couple people that got a 4 because they just got lucky, then that's huge for the state golf.
Someone did. So I think this was on another podcast I was listening to this week. They did get a hand on the scores from the tournament, and it was something like 4 pars, 5 bogeys, and 51 others.
And like, this is inappropriate probably for the pod, but like, I grew up in South Dakota. The state girls golf tournament, there were 10 to 15 good golfers, and 75% of the people out there were shooting 100 plus. Right, like this isn't like it's Minnesota where there's a big metropolitan area with lots of golfers. This is like Yankton, South Dakota, trying to put 6 female golfers on our golf.
I'll tell you what, it's not much different. I'm sure it wasn't much different in the guys' golf teams.
Oh yeah, for sure. Our 6th guy was not breaking 90 usually.
Yeah.
So no different. High school golf.
Anyways, moving on. Obviously, we'll stay in women's golf for a second though, because this came up with our listeners today. People we're looking for DFS advice for U.S. Open week. That's right. The U.S. Women's Open is this week at Pine Needles in North Carolina, and so Kyle, Jordan, neither of you seem to want to take that one, so I jumped on the opportunity to give my thoughts on the Women's Open this week.
Is the course really called Pine Needles?
Pine Needles. Yeah, it's actually right down the street from Pinehurst. Like, it's pretty close.
I was just making sure you didn't misspeak and it wasn't supposed to be Pinehurst.
No. Pine Needles. It's a great golf course in the area. They've gotten a number of women's opens in the last handful of years, but I haven't played it. I've just driven by it. But I said that I liked either Korda sister, Hannah Green, and Nasa Hakatoa, but I'm pulling for Michelle Wee West this week in her farewell tour. She's not going to play very many events going forward. And then I threw out one more, Amy Anderson Olsen, who I asked on Twitter if anyone knew who she lost to in the 2009 Pine de Palm in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. And J.Y. Sodi was incorrect. The answer was Tom Hoagie.
Oh, who would have thought?
Anyways, all right, moving on. Kyle, U.S. Open, men's U.S. Open, Brookline, Massachusetts, coming up in a couple of weeks. Can you give us an early look at where you might think there might be an angle on outright betting?
I would say the thing to look at is it kind of plays into this week, right? If you think there's someone out there, maybe it's a Colin Morikawa, someone along that lines, who could jump up and win this week. So if you have an outright on someone, maybe you want to look ahead and grab them at the Open too before their line moves. And the reason I mentioned Morikawa, this kind of seemed a little odd to me. I get he's a good course fit from an Open type course, but he's 1,400 at the Open, and this week he's currently 1,800.
Yeah, we were talking about him this week when he was struggling at Colonial, and I was trying to look ahead to see if I could get him in a decent number, at least like 20-1. And I just think 14-1 for the way that he's playing 14-1 right now, it just seems way too low for him.
I agree. You know, when I went back and forth a little bit about it, if he was gaining everywhere except for on the greens, yeah, all day he'd be right in the middle of my radar. But he's up and down, losing strokes off the tee. I think on round 2, the only place he gained was around the green, which is not Morikawa golf at all. So yeah, he has a couple weeks here to show something different, but I wouldn't be touching that. You know, if I was gonna look somewhere right now, it'd probably be at that, you know, some of the guys 25-40 right now. And if you think they could pick up a win, and not to steal some of our thunder for what we're about to talk about here in the second half of the show, but you got Hovland, Will Zalatoris, Fitzy, Shane Lowry, Sam Burns, Hideki, in that range. So those may be the ones I would look at grabbing, or even going down board a little bit to Cameron Young at 5,500 if you think they could pop beforehand.
Yeah, he's the one that I like. You can still get at 5,500. So that's what he was at the PGA, and he's somewhat backed up the play.
Yeah,
to still get him at 55-1 seems pretty good.
Did Mito make the U.S. Open? Because I'm hoping to bet on him and then have another epic collapse.
That's a good question.
I didn't see him on the list.
No.
So this may be a good segue for you, Mike. Who is on the list in that range I just mentioned is Louis at 40-1.
Well, let me ask you guys this question as we segue. It's Tuesday. I said it was May 31st, which means we had some breaking news today with an actual list of Live Tour players. Going around the horn, who's the guy that you're most bummed to see on that list?
I'll let Jordan go first.
It's for sure got to be DJ, because the only reason I like watching is seeing Paulina on the course when he's playing well.
Well, I
won't miss any of them, but I will miss DJ's wife on the course.
Yeah, you can watch. You can I guess tune in on YouTube to watch the Live Tour events. But if you really want to see Paulina, you can probably go a number of other places to see.
Yeah, she's not going to follow him to London and other places to play golf. She only shows up at, I've only ever seen her at the Masters.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed that's where Jordan was going to go first. I thought he was going to lead with his boy.
Oh no, Dick Bland, goodbye.
You know, honestly, the one, you know, obviously DJ was the shocker, but I was a little sad to see Taylor Gooch on there. You know, I've played Gooch a decent amount this year. Everyone else I kind of see as on the downslope of their careers for the most part, except for maybe some of the younger guys in there who you'll probably hit on a little bit, Mike. But
yeah,
that was probably the one that I was like, yeah, dang.
Well, so you're right, Kyle. So that was going to be my take, was around the younger guys, and we talked a little bit about this in the pre-show, but if you look at like James Piot or even Andy Ogletree, who was a USAM finalist a couple of years ago, and you got David Puig, guys that could be the next best thing are not going to be on the PGA Tour. And Kyle, you made a great point. Like, if this was happening 5 years ago, you probably are taking one of Matt Wolff, Colin Morikawa, Victor Hovland, that era of player. A couple of those guys might have been going on this tour, and we would have not seen them do what they do on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, and the reason it's impactful, I guess, from my standpoint, is the great thing about the PGA Tour is you had the best golfers in the world all in one place. It's like the NFL, right? The reason it's great is the best players in the world all play in the same league, and it's probably a reason that, maybe soccer doesn't gain as much traction in some arenas. I know from a world standpoint it does. It's just because you have players spread out all over. So yes, English Premier League, in most people's opinions, the best, but you don't have all the best players in the world there. So that's why it's unfortunate for me. Was I a huge Dustin Johnson fan? No, but would I prefer if he was playing the PGA Tour every week? Yes. Do I get why he's going? Sure. Do I like it? No.
150 mil in the bank.
Yeah. So 2 comments on it. I saw one great Twitter comment. Like, I can't wait to see who Dustin Johnson picks with his fourth pick. Is it between Adrian Atagui, Jinichiro Kozuma, or Chase Koepka? Right? Like, this is his team base, but he's going to be playing with these schlubs out there. Right? Like, this is truly a fantasy draft where no one wants to be picking in the final round because they hope to cut them anyway. But the other one, I saw that there's 48 people playing. There's 42 names on this list. There's 5 Asian Tour qualifiers and 1 that hasn't been announced yet. And they're all speculating that it'll be someone else. Who?
I said TW.
I mean, right. Phil's not on the list.
Yeah.
Oh, yep. I didn't hear the P. I think you said CW. I was very.
No. Big cat.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I guess more to come. I don't know. I'm not like, this is fine. It is what it is. It's what we all expected was going to happen, and I guess we'll find out.
Well, and the other thing about DJ that just annoys me is he put out the statement in February. That a co-statement that the PGA Tour put out with him about his commitment to it. So we have the RBC Canadian Open next week, who DJ's an RBC sponsored golfer, right? So he's on all the posters for next week.
Right. Yeah, that's right. I was going to say that at the close about, RBC. He's a big time ambassador there. So that's pretty
probably still he'll play, right? Because it's not until they play in the Live Tour that
And is the PGA Tour rule about is it only US events or is it North America events that they need the release from?
It was all. They didn't release any of them for London.
Oh, okay.
That was the big thing a week or 2 ago.
That did say, just because DJ, is on this list to play, let's say he does play in London, doesn't necessarily mean he's joining the tour.
Yeah.
They could have. It could be a negotiation if he gets to go play one event type thing. I don't know.
Right. All right. Well, I suppose this isn't a Live Tour podcast, so we spent more time than we thought we would. What it is a PGA Tour DFS podcast, which means we should talk about the Colonial. I have a couple of stories. Jordan, comment before we start.
Before we get there, we got to decide who we're betting on in the match tomorrow.
That is a fair point.
I was just looking at DraftKings. Allen and Mahomes are plus 160, but Brady and Rodgers are minus 190. I mean, you got to go for the Allen, Mahomes, the young guns, right?
Are those guys actual golfers? Like, Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers aren't bad players. These other guys are they any good? I bet Jake Allen is.
I think Josh Allen is good. I don't know about
Josh
Jake.
Allen. Jake Allen.
But I think I saw Mahomes is like an 8 or a 9.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to say something. I saw something about Allen golfing somewhere. I think he's been in stuff like this before.
All right.
Not this.
All right. Okay.
So who are you taking?
I take the old guys.
You're going with the goats. I think I'd go for the money. I'll go for the plus 160.
All right, I'll flip a coin and join one of you.
You'll let us know in the second half. All right, Colonial. I have a couple of points. Obviously, we had a really thrilling finish. We'll talk about that. A couple of points. One, Matt McNeely sucks. The guy, he needs like the easiest 40-foot up and down from the fringe to make the cut, and he leaves it 11 feet short of the hole and then leaves that putt on the low side of the lip. And it just like, obviously as somebody who took a whole bunch of Matt McNeely this week, very frustrating. But also, I don't understand.
So you're saying Matt McNeely got the cut sweats?
Oh my God. I mean, I didn't even watch any of the golf on Friday, except I turned it on, I think, like at the end of the day, and he was in one of the last groups, and that's the sequence I saw. And so obviously infuriating. But Kyle, maybe not as infuriating as what you were able to do for first round leader bet this week.
Hey, I'll take it. An 8-way tie, HV3. So I tweeted out my betting card. He had a first round leader. Miraculously went from 40-1 to 4-1 because we're splitting it 8 ways, dead heat style. But it paid for some of my bets for the weekend. So at least
a win's a win, I guess.
A win's a win. I'm chalking it up. Hit a first round leader.
So your boy HV3, he did some stuff on Sunday that I only read about. I actually was out playing golf, and so I did not see this, but you guys were texting me and said it was more or less a thing of beauty what he did on the back nine at Colonial. Can one of you explain?
I mean, it's impressive to go triple, single, double, birdie.
and another triple. I think he at one point was 10 under, and he finished the tournament even par.
So HV3, I backed everyone up, Mike, right? I took him out, right? I took him top 20 and took him first round leader. Well, he went from tied for first on the 10th hole to out of the top 20 by the 15th hole.
Unreal. I mean, I would imagine at some point TV probably just stopped showing him. It was so bad.
I didn't see, I was not watching when he was on like 14, 15. I did see his tee shot go in the water on 17, which I think was a third triple of the back.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. But all right. Well, so buddies Sam Burns and Scotty Scheffler finish in a tie at 9 under. Burns finishes the round 2 hours ahead of Scotty. They go to a playoff, and Burns wins. I mean, in obviously thrilling fashion, but like identical conclusion to when he won the Valspar earlier this year.
Did he drop that big a bomb at the Valspar?
Yeah, it was like 35, 40 feet. And that was where Davis Riley then had to chip. And I was talking about how he had the advantage of going first and putting the pressure on. Well, the same thing happened here. And he rolls this one in. I guess little did we know, Scotty Scheffler, I think, was looking to get out of there and just book it down to wherever he had this family wedding about an hour and a half away. He was there by, I think, 8 o'clock to catch dinner.
Well, he could have got there faster if he could have taken the Roadster, though, right?
You're right. Yeah, if he would have just actually won in regulation when he had the chance. Did you guys realize that on the PGA Tour this season, Burns and Scheffler have accounted for 25% of the wins?
Wow.
7 wins between them.
I did see that tweet. That's crazy. Yeah.
It is crazy. I don't think people would obviously we know what Scheffler's been doing, but just between 2 players, I mean, that's pretty nuts.
And yet DJ just made 10x of them by signing on the dotted line with the Live Tour. Maybe even more than 10x.
For 18 months until it's defunct and he has to come groveling back.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Well, we'll see if Monahan can stay true to his word and leave DJ on the side of the road. No chance.
No chance.
But did you see, I'm not familiar with this place. Did you see the picture of Sam Burns at Bucke's? I'm assuming Bucke's.
Oh yeah. Google it. They're the biggest gas stations in the world. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
If you drive anywhere in Texas,
What, Kyle, what's the equivalent of a Bucke's in Iowa?
I don't know if there's anything in Iowa, but the closest thing would be the rest stop at 90 and 35 in Albert Lee, Minnesota. Put that, but like even bigger, and that's every Bucke's.
Yeah, okay. I was thinking you were going to say the Come and Go.
Oh, Mike.
I mean, the Come and Go is a popular spot. I mean, it's second to the Pump and Munch that I think we have around here in the cities. But anyways, so Bucky, so Sam Burns is standing there looking like, I mean, any other bro that's driving through Texas buying phone chargers and a pre-made egg sandwich.
Yes.
Is that what it was? Egg? I was gonna go with a chicken sandwich.
Probably. Who knows?
That was a very. it was quite the picture, right? He literally looked like a truck driver just got out of his truck and picking up some supplies. And no, he just won $1.5 million.
Yeah, pretty awesome. I like that about a lot of these guys right now, though, is there's like no showmanship. It's like where they're just true to their word and they live their life, yet they, ball out on the golf course. It's pretty cool.
So Mike, if let's play scenario here. You were Burns. You get done, 2.5 hours before the final group scheduled. You put that number out there, but at that point in time, he was 3 back?
Mm-hmm.
2 back?
2 back.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, it was 11.
What happens? What do you do? Like, obviously, he didn't leave.
Yeah, I mean, I got to imagine most guys. I mean, I didn't notice if he took a shower or anything. Like, was he wearing the same clothes that he had played in that day? But like, yeah, you can't. I bet there's like a rule on tour. I don't know this, but it'd be great to confirm. Like, I bet there's like a rule of thumb or something that's like, hey, if you put up a clubhouse number within 4 shots of the lead on Sunday, you stick around town. Like, I mean, a lot of guys had to come back, but then the wind picked up, and obviously you can't even, if you're 6 or 7 shots back, you're not going to have 30 guys fall out of the lead. But I'm sure there's some number that guys say this is when you stick around.
Yes, and as soon as someone posts a better number, you can be
right.
Yeah. That's probably how they do it, right? Whoever's posted the lowest score has to stay. And then when came in at -9, he sent all the -8 people home.
Yeah, so then he's probably hanging around, and then he's like, "Wait a minute, hold on, no one's like really running away. Here's another 20 minutes, another 20 minutes, and all of a sudden he's in a playoff." But
speaking of getting out of town, though, Jason Kokrak, Sunday morning, I did get to see that his 2-hour round playing solo without a marker. His caddy wasn't even walking back to the tee box with him sometimes, and just like send him with the driver, and the caddy was just standing in the middle of the fairway waiting for him. It was pretty cool.
That's Jordan on Friday mornings at his club.
Damn straight, as much golf as you can get in a short amount of time.
I had a 56-minute 9-hole round this weekend. Try to get in during nap time.
Walking or with a cart?
That was with a cart.
That's awesome.
Right, well,
when your ball's not in the fairway, you need a little help.
That's a good point.
Kokrak didn't finish in last place.
No, sometimes that might help your group depending on.
Harry Higgs took that one home.
Harry Higgs, as one of our members of the RTG League said, Harry Higgs must have had a rough Saturday night with how he's played on Sunday.
Well, speaking of the listener league, G Bentley finishes in first. I think he hasn't reached JY Sodi status yet, but I feel like we do call out G Bentley's name quite a bit. But he finishes in first. I did take down second. I was happy to catch a piece of that since the rest of my week was pretty terrible. And JY ATD finishes third. Again, great to see JY Sodi finishing well outside the money. I think we're getting tired of calling his name, but here I am saying it again.
Yeah, we got to start to keep those Iwegians out of here.
Yeah, exactly. I thought this was interesting. Sam Burns finishes with 108 DraftKings points in classic format. So he obviously was our top finisher in our model, top player of the week. 3 players finished with more DK points than Scotty Scheffler. It was close. But Brendan Todd and Davis Riley, who were in our model, finished with more points than Scotty Scheffler, and so did Scott Stallings. So it's just interesting how that shakes out over the course of a week, what contributes to points. And you could see how if you look back, like, and I'll get to this point too, fan-sided Cody Williams, one of our experts, he was the top expert of the week, and Davis Riley was one of his plays. And I think that's what helps, is that Davis Riley actually scored quite a few points compared to his finish in the field.
Yeah, and it's a great point, especially for I'm kind of surprised it played out like this here, but especially Birdie Fest type events, right? You need those guys that are going to get the streaks of 3 in a row. You're going to need those guys that get eagles. I mean, that was a deal with Scotty. 12 birdies, 57 pars. 2 bogey-free rounds and 3 bogeys. That's it. A lot of parts. Where Davis Riley, yes, he had a double, but he also had a streak of 3 or more, and and the 1 bogey-free round. Brennan Todd had an eagle, and Scott Stallings had a streak of 3 or more too. So
yeah,
you need
so it does
bonus points.
You want to ride away.
You
want it's birdies and bogeys.
Exactly. He's exactly right. And like those guys, and I think it was only a couple points difference, but if you're in a big GPP with thousands of players, those couple points are the difference between, quite a few bucks. So, just to finish out the Colonial landmines in our model, this was, we did have a couple of big landmines, although I think, Kyle, you'll say they were easy to spot. I didn't think so. Rose, Harmon, Answer, McNeely, all guys with at least 25% of the love this week, all missing the cut. I throw Tom Hoagie in that mix because he should have been a shoo-in to make the cut. And I know you're going to say Answer has been very blah this year, and I know that that's true. I don't think he should have missed the cut, but I played him in cash because I figured that was just a better spot for him. But I don't know. I hit a lot of those landmines, and I think that contributed to a poor performance this week.
Yeah, I did okay, and I wouldn't say they were easy to spot. Otherwise, I wouldn't have played him any at all. But Answer was the one that I did fade. I think we mentioned it last week, but he only has 1 top 30 of the year, and granted that was recently, but for a guy that I've clicked on a lot and like to play, I was very aware of that form, and I need to see more from him before I can get fully back on the wagon there. But overall, there were some landmines, and you had to certainly dodge those, but there were some decent plays out there too. So Spieth led our mentioned share in our model. He had a nice Sunday to finish, I believe, 7th in DraftKings scoring. So he was 10-4, but 7th place is a good finish. Kevin Na, obviously we talked about HV3. Chris Kirk was doing great until he kind of sunk like a ship on Sunday, but overall, Davis Riley, there was a lineup there, but you just had to
avoid,
watch where you stepped a little bit.
Yep.
Also,
all right.
Finau's back, guys.
Finau's back. So he was another one. I was really hoping to see him going back to the U.S. Open. I really wanted to see him at like 50-1 at the U.S. Open, and I think he's 35. But he's got some great form. That might be worth a sprinkle in a couple of weeks.
Finau really surprised me last week. He wasn't a guy I was going to click on at that course with the accuracy you need off the tee. So, props to him. Surprised the heck out of me there.
Yeah. How about beers before we go to break here? I'm off the beaten path a little bit. I have Grandpa Bill's Pills from Junkyard, one of our favorite breweries, but this is good. It's a dry hopped Pilsner, so it's got a little bit of bite, pretty refreshing still, and I like that.
I like that style. I like what you got going there. I have, in Iowa, but I found a beer from California. I can't find much from Minnesota, but I got Firestone Walker's Hopnosis IPA, but solid brewery. I can find it here. So
good choice. I have one of my luggage beer from Boston. I got my Mighty Squirrel Double Cloud Candy, which is delicious.
I've been to that brewery.
It's very good.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll come back and talk about the Memorial. Hey everyone, welcome back. We have the second half of our show, the Memorial Preview. But first, the Reading the Green Listener League is available on DraftKings. Come and play DraftKings DFS golf with us every week. Lots of good money. Let's get a few more people in there leading up to the U.S. Open, which is always nice to get a lot of new faces as we head into the majors. So, gonna be a good week in the Reading the Green Listener League. Okay, the Memorial Golf Tournament played at Muirfield Village in Dublin, Ohio. Last year we had John Rahm as our winner. Sorry, no, not John Rahm.
I mean, he through 3 rounds by 6 strokes.
Yeah, I'm kidding. Patrick Cantlay wins by default over Colin Morikawa. I think a lot of folks think John Rahm has done a shoe-in this week. I think I saw him joking around. He was wearing a mask around the facilities just to make sure he doesn't test positive for COVID.
That's pretty funny.
I wish I could joke about winning $1 million.
I know. Kyle, you offered a prompt here about kind of where the Memorial ranks as far as identifiable, interesting golf tournaments on the year. What do you think?
Yeah. Do you guys think it's what I would classify as best of the rest? Like, you got your majors, you got the PGA, you got the players. Sorry, yeah, the players. But then, I mean, it's definitely that next tier. And does it lead that next tier in your opinion? The other ones I would kind of throw out there is Riv. I'm always kind of partial to Riv, but you got the Farmers at Torrey. Yeah, I mean, what do you guys think?
I think that's maybe Arnold Palmer. I think that's that's a good group to put in there because especially with the WGC events going away, and the FedEx Tour events being fairly meaningless, and like the Tour Championship isn't that interesting, especially with like the pacing and all that. I agree. Like there is a handful of tournaments that are like you really want to tune into that are normal stops. I think Torrey's a good example, but this is another great one. It's Jack's tournament,
Is it? Wait, the U.S. Open still two other tournaments.
Yeah, the Canadian Open is next weekend.
Okay, so there's a week because it wouldn't, if it was right before the U.S. Open, it wouldn't feel the same. But feels like it's in a good spot too, right?
Yeah, guys can take a week off
after the PGA and far enough before the U.S. Open. It's almost. This and the 3M Open are probably neck and neck.
Yeah, 3M might be up there.
Listeners need to start getting prepared for the coverage that we are going to bring to the 3M Open this year. It's going to be on point.
Did we hear back on our media passes yet?
It's in process. So
stand by for some interviews, some guest appearances on the pod.
To be perfectly honest, I'm a little encouraged by hearing the No Laying Up guys who are all in Fort Worth this last week for the Colonial, talking about playing skee ball with Joel Damon at a bar during the event. I think we need to kind of clear our social calendars for the evenings and just figure out, tweet at, whoever's in the field, if it's Tom Hoagie or Eric Van Rooyen, maybe one of those guys. If they're wherever they're hanging out, let's go.
I'm disappointed. No Laying Up though. They stole my guest. Damon's caddy, Gino. Like that. That's who I was gonna have. So we have a chance.
We have a chance still. We'll give it a shot. But we just got to clear our calendars for the week and figure out how we can, socialize.
Yeah, and we can use the RTG bank account to pay for babysitters so our wives don't hate us.
So we got a little bit off the kilter there. Question.
Let's go back. Yeah. Let's go back to the model though, Kyle. So I think there's some interesting things popping up here. I know we're don't totally have all the experts in, but give us some of the highlights.
Yeah, I think we have some folks with some Memorial Day hangovers. They must maybe ate a bad brat or one too many cookout beers, because we have some contributors lagging a little bit. I think at this point in time we have 8 or 9 not in. But we do have a lot of them with plays recommended so far, and leading the way at $8,000 from a salary perspective is Mito Pereira, 57% mention share.
Sorry, what? I just 67
on the MPI. Jordan's favorite betting play there, Mito.
I got nothing. I give up. I will not ever take him in a real bet again.
And that kind of starts a theme from our salaries at the top of the board here. There's a lot of value being recommended so far. Brendan Steele coming in next at 6,600. Brendan Steele, 6,600.
I love me some Brendan Steele. I just hope he gets paired with Dick Bland this weekend.
What's the take there? Like, is he hasn't won.
I have to get a Jordan level joke in first.
All right, sorry.
One last ride for Dick before he sails off to live. But
I stepped all over your touchdown call there. I'm sorry.
So Brendan Steele, he has some good course history here. They've lengthened the course a bit, and he's pretty long off the tee.
You can't talk about Brendan Steele and about how long he is, Kyle. I'm sorry. It's not allowed on the podcast.
I'm gonna have a sprinkle. You have to when he's getting 50% love at this point in time, but he's $6,600. I can't go all in. And I will say some of our contributors have recommended even staying away from the 6K range this week. So I take that with a grain of salt. Is what I'll say. Continuing down the board, Shane Lowry, 9,000 in the salary, 47% mention share. Strong MPI at 77. Think he'll be really chalky this week, but I will be looking there. And then Cameron Young, continuing to get all love, 42% mention share, 69 MPI at this time.
Okay, so I think there's probably a couple guys further down that you might be eyeing for your core plays. So why don't we just jump into those? I have some thoughts on some of the things you've already said, but want to hear where you're starting your builds.
Yeah. One other thing I wanted to mention just about this event in general. If you look back at who's won, and I know Jordan likes his course history as part of making his plays, there is a lot of big names on there. And we kind of talked about this at a couple events ago. It was a stepping stone for a lot of those guys. They might be upper echelon guys now, but that time, maybe their previous win was a 3M Open level event. And then this was the kind of, hey, they got to go shake Jack's hand, and now they're competing in majors. And just on that list, it would be like Cantlay, Rahm, Bryson, Hideki, Matt Kuchar. So it was the first big win for a lot of those guys. So I think that's got an interesting way to look at the field this week, and why you'll see a lot of value in the 8 and 9K range that might grab your eye, like a Cameron Young, who I will be going back to. I like him in the strong field events at the 42% mention share, strong MPI. I have to play with Shane Lowry as well, and I think he's a great fit from a cash perspective. And at 9,000 seems a little light on salary given his form. Yep. And then going a little bit below that top of the board, I'm probably, if I go up board from to the higher price point guys, I'm gonna probably go to Rory. 10-9. He just feels like he's on the cusp here of getting a victory, and 30% mention share at this point in time, and a 74 MPI.
So I have a thought here around pricing and trying to do some comparisons. So I know we had Mito at the top at 8,000, and I was trying to compare him to Cam Young at 8,800. And I felt like, those guys have had really consistent form, comparable form the last handful of weeks. And it feels like the $800 price break for Mito Pereira was worth it. Then I'm looking at comparing Cam Young and Shane Lowry and feel like I'm getting a much more complete player in Shane Lowry than I am maybe. And now Cam Young has been great, and I really like him. I want to bet him at the U.S. Open too. But Shane Lowry at 9,000 feels like great value compared to Cam Young at 8,800. So maybe what I'm getting at is Cam Young still feels slightly overpriced at 8,800, whereas Mito feels like a pretty good price at 8,000, as does Shane Lowry. And still looking at some value, I think Spieth is getting a discount at 9,700, given how well he has played and showed up the last handful of weeks. Being under 10K still for Spieth feels like a value play. So he has the ability to show up and win, just like all those other 10K guys. And so that's another one where I would maybe be thinking there's a bit of an edge there. It probably will drive some ownership, but I think that's a good price.
I like your take on Spieth. It could drive some ownership, but I think people have played a lot of Spieth the last couple of weeks, so there might be a little Spieth burnout. So people might want to pivot elsewhere. I don't know if I agree with your Cam Young take.
I feel like he's deserving of the price point. Maybe you even think he might be underpriced at 8,800.
8,800 probably feels about right to me. I mean, third at the PGA, second at Wells Fargo, third at the RBC, his last 3 starts.
Yeah,
that's just That's bonkers. And
Insane.
And then second at the Genesis, which I would say is a decent comp course. Obviously he had the hiccups at the Masters and Players, but he kind of got over that, major feel, I guess, with the PGA, and he's been on such a tear. Outside of that, 13, 16, 26, 20th. Like, man.
Well, it's a fair point. His form has been excellent. Again, that's why I think maybe grabbing a ticket at 55-1 for the U.S. Open might be a good play, because he feels like a guy that could just all of a sudden, you wouldn't be surprised at this point.
Yeah.
You would not be surprised.
Well, and the one thing that maybe does give me a little hesitation is he just doesn't have the history here, but that's been everywhere he's played this year. And we did see him with a little bit of a rough last couple of holes last time out. So
yeah, that's true.
That could hang.
Learning, that's a learning scenario for a guy that hasn't been there. I'll offer one more comparison. So if I were to go back to my play, I liked Mito, I like Spieth. Compare Brendan Steele and another budget play, Eric Van Rooyen. So both guys at 6,600. Both guys getting decent love, 23% mention share for Eric Van Rooyen, obviously the 52% mention share for Brendan Steele. If you have to pick one guy to be your punt play this week, where do you think it's going to be?
I want to dive deeper to Brendan Steele. I know Jordan asked, you asked about the course history there, maybe, or like what's driving that. Yes, he was 9th at the PGA. His form before that was pretty solid: 51st, 48th, 13th at the Players, 26th at the API. So maybe that must be. I mean, it does seem a little light for someone coming off that form at 6,600. So I want to dive in, but I think I would probably lean Steele and trust experts at this time.
All right, Jordan. What do you think? Memorial Golf Tournament.
Kyle, I was disappointed you stole my go-to of past winners. Thanks for that. But it's crazy. The last 25, 30 years, it's all big names. Back to 1990, except for 4 people. There are 4 people.
That's quite the 4-person stretch. I was looking at that. That's crazy.
That 4 people, 2 years in a row, like 2015, 2016, and 2005, 2006. And maybe these 2005, 2006 guys were a big name and I just didn't follow golf. But have either of you heard of Bart Bryant or Carl Petter's son?
Yeah, I mean, but I can't tell you anything about it.
It's just wild. This is 100% a big name tournament. Even like Willie McGirt and David Lingmerth were the other 2 winners. Otherwise, it is all big names. Ernie, Jim Furyk, Tiger, Freddie, VJ, Watson, Norman, Lehman. Like, this is all the way back to the 90s. Every year it's someone you've heard of.
And that probably goes back to Kyle's point about being like the best of the rest tournaments. Like the Players Championship always has big names win because the big guys get up for the big tournaments.
Yes. And yet after I say that, I'm going to say that my whole lineup, 5 of my 6 guys are between 7,700 and 9,000. There's a lot of value in the model in that range. So like I just stayed away from the Rorys of the world because I wanted, Homa, Kirk, Lowry, Davis Riley, Cameron Young, like all dudes playing really good golf coming in here. And then I've got $7,000 left and I just clicked EVR, Mike, right before you asked that question. But I was like, do I go with the model and Brendan Steele, or do I go with my Minnesota Gopher EVR, which I should go with the model because that has way more of a logic and science behind it than a Gopher. Gophers always choke.
You wouldn't be you then.
That's true.
So
all right, EVR it is.
I think your approach has a lot of merit, and maybe outside the EVR pick, but a lot of merit this week, Jordan, because I think there's a lot of value in the 8K range, and it's a lot of guys that have been playing well, and it's a lot of those young gun guys that I feel like a lot of people would say are close. You have obviously Young, Riley, Mito. I mean, even stepping up a little bit to the 9Ks, you have Willie Z. And Homa's got a couple wins, but he needs a next level win, I would say. So there's a lot of people that fit that mold of what Bryson was, what Cantlay was, what Rahm was when they won this event for the first time.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah, and you guys know I'm not necessarily looking for winners. Even I want 6 dudes that can make the cut. Right,
well,
like
I know that gets you a few bucks in your neighborhood league because
take all these suckers' money.
Exactly. You're a shark in a pond in that, I think. But so Kyle, when we look at tiers, does the story change at all? Do we have any different names that come to the top?
Well, so initially I was going to talk about tier 4 was my initial plan. Turns out we've talked a lot about those guys. So maybe let's just talk about that as a group. If we had to narrow it down to one play from the 4th tier, so you have Cameron Young, you have Max Homa, you have Neiman, you have Davis Riley, you have Corey Connors, and you have Keegan Bradley. Where are you guys looking there? MPI would lead you to Neiman at this point in time, where obviously Cameron Young is carrying the mention share. You can make an argument a lot of different ways. I think someone that might not draw much ownership is Corey Connors, just because he burned some people out recently. But he has been a guy that's been strong in these type of fields and these type of events in the past. But what do you guys think?
I like to always check to see the order that the players show up in the DraftKings app, because I have a belief that the guy that shows up at the top automatically garners the most ownership because people are lazy and they click the first one, however projected point filtered or sorted by projected points. So I think Cameron Young is probably a pretty good play there. I'll probably flip a coin between Homa and Cameron Young based on what I have elsewhere for my lineups, but probably between those two guys.
It's not a bad group though, right? Like Davis, I don't think they might all make the cut. Like if there was one tier where they might all make the cut, there's a lot of good golfers in that one right now.
Well, I'll say in general this week, it doesn't, every now and then I'll pop for a little higher price point tiers game, especially there's some weeks that our model really gives a lot of hints in that way. And usually when there's a pretty clear lineup there, it works out well. At this point in time, I don't know if that's going to be the approach this week. I mean, there's a lot of tough decisions.
There's probably 2 guys in each. There's probably 2 guys in each tier that the model would suggest, and I think that could be interesting if you were to look at maybe a modified cascading core approach in like a multi-entry tier. You could probably mix and match those dozen guys, but I think you're right. There's a few too many decisions to have a surefire lineup.
I mean, I don't know, guys. Hey, if you follow the sheet, the first 6 guys in the sheet are in 5 different tiers. Should be easy. Oh, the only decision you need to make is in tier 6, which they're all garbage anyway.
No, right? Well, Kyle's auto betting Aaron Wise at this point.
Your perfect tiers is Mito, Shane, Cameron, Rahm, and Spieth based on the model. Now there's no decisions to make. Bet the model, guys. You guys don't believe in it or what?
Well, no, we do. Let's see what happens. We believe it.
I don't know if I've ever seen it like that clearly. Usually it's,
if only Steele was tier 6.
Yeah.
All right. Well, any last thoughts on the memorial here? We can wrap up.
I'll try to put out a little bit of a betting card again this week. If you can find a place to take a guy to finish second, take the guys that bet. They're more likely to finish second than anywhere else.
That's why, Kyle, you got to be backing up those bets with some, some top 5s or some top 20s or something. And
I'm gonna hit that. I'm gonna hit one of those outrights here either this week or I'll save it for the U.S. Open, maybe. The go big.
Really close. All right, good stuff. Remember, we got the listener league that'll be available on Twitter, of course, you can DM us or reach out any other way to get the link for that. We'd love to get some more listeners into our listener league. You can find our content on any of the major podcast platforms. Check out our videos and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at RTG Podcast DFS. We'll be back in a week to cover the Memorial and preview the RBC Canadian Open. See ya.